This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Welcome back to The Cinnamon Effect. I'm Kimberly Hand, and today I'm here with Fayth Caruso. Fayth is a Bellicon master trainer. What's a Bellicon? It's a rebounder. And I'm so excited to talk to her today because rebounding has become a part of my routine, and it's made such positive impacts on my health routine. And so I was so excited to talk to you and explore the benefits. We're going to talk about the differences of the Bellicon rebounder versus other rebounders that you can find out there, say on Amazon or wherever. We're going to talk about why women who've had babies don't need to worry about like peeing in their pants with with rebounding, which I can tell you is a legitimate fear of women. So Fayth, welcome to The Cinnamon Effect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's kick it off with the benefits of rebounding.
Amazing. I love that you broke the ice with the pelvic floor because I feel like it has like real talk that a lot of people want to hear.
Yes.
So maybe we start there.
Let's do it. Yeah. Tell them why they're not going to pee in their pants and why it's good for the pelvic floor.
Yeah. So I think, we always have this misconception, and it can be women or men. It can be any gender, but I feel like women, it leans into more, especially if you may have had kids, even if you haven't, you still may have some pelvic floor issues. But everybody thinks, okay, we get on, we're supposed to be laughing and coughing and peeing our pants, and we're not able to jump on a trampoline. We're not able to run a mile. And it is not the case at all. Most of the time, it is completely rehab. We can rehab it and we can heal it. And you wouldn't think that a rebounder would be a great tool for that. But basically, the facts that it comes down to is the rebounder mat itself is sort of like your pelvic floor. So if you can imagine your pelvic floor is seated under the bones of the pelvis, the Bellicon mat or the rebounder mat is the same. And what happens is as we work on this malleable surface, the deeper muscles have to engage, and they require a little bit of instability or malleability in order to fire up because they're really deep muscles. So if we were to run on or jump on a solid surface, our surface muscles tend to fire more to protect us because it's hard. When we work on this softer surface with these bungees, as we move up and down, it literally will start to fire those deeper pelvic floor muscles. So that's the simplicity of it. I always tell people you work with what we call closed chain bouncing first. So your feet stay on the mat for a while. You don't go, flying high for a little bit. And then little bits at a time, you'll start to build off the mat. So.
Okay. And kind of building that strength then in the pelvic floor. How do you, okay, so we're going to get right into it because you're a former dancer. You've been in the fitness, arena for a very, very long time. How do you tell people to engage their pelvic floor as they are bouncing? Let's say, because maybe some people don't really understand what that means.
Exactly. It's really tough because they are such deep muscles. And also, I think we're told Kegels. And everyone's like, okay, I know that has something to do with pulling up, but what exactly? So it's a good question. I like to reframe how we think about pelvic floor. So I tell people, don't just think about your pelvic floor, think about your whole body. So instead of actually putting so much hyper focus on the pelvic floor and like tightening it, because I find it actually causes quite a bit of stress, like emotionally, mentally, to think about that. I like to just cue breathing in certain ways. So deep breathing so that we start to relax and engage, because actually if you inhale and exhale in a deep way, the pelvic floor muscles will start to engage and also relax. So I kind of think of a full body approach. So I think breath work. I also think alignment. When we are aligned posturally in a beautiful way, then it takes pressure off of certain muscles and it puts everything working in the way it should in terms of our deeper muscles in our body. And then I also think about mobility. So moving the spine, rotating it, moving this way to basically open up our inner cavity so that the pelvic floor muscles can start to engage. So it sounds counterintuitive, but I actually take a little bit of focus off the pelvic floor and put it on breath and alignment and a bit mobility. And then what I find is everything stacks up, and then we can start to find the pelvic floor muscles. When you step on the Bellicon, you don't have to think about it because they'll automatically engage because of the bungees. So it's sort of like I have to take the cueing away a little bit and think of it differently. That makes sense.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that just being on the rebounder is helping you engage without having to think about it.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
You
Okay,
said
okay.
everything that I said in the most simple, perfect way. That's exactly right. So as long as you are aligned and you're breathing and you're connecting, so there is that mind-body connection. I'll sometimes say to people, if you want a cue, you're putting on a pair of jeans that just came out of the dryer and they've shrunk a little, and you kind of have to pull up to get the zipper up on the jeans. And so I'll just sometimes cue a little lift from that low area, but I don't over cue sucking in or anything like that, because what I found is that we overdo it, and then there's jaw tension, and that connects to pelvic floor tension. So less is more. It's alignment, it's relaxation, it's imagery, and then just get on and begin that bounce. And the Bellicon will do the.
Okay. I love that because I actually always heard the phrase like sucking, which is kind of crazy, is like a large
A
item, but like sucking
marble.
a lemon, I heard like that's large.
It's large. I know. I've heard all sorts of different objects up there. I know. Me too. And I'm always like, coming on. And I mean, it is an image. You can think, okay, I deeply squat and I inhale and I exhale and lift up a little bit. And for some
Mhm.
people that works. If that image works for you and it's been working for you, like awesome. I never like to hate on any images that work for
Yeah.
people. Like that's awesome. But I think, yeah, for a lot of people, they're like, what? I mean, I've never done that. How does that connect? And so if you're those people where I was like, what am I pulling up? I've heard,
Yeah.
marbles and nuts and lemons and all sorts of different size fruits and objects. But,
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, there's a lot of imagery put in there, and that's fine. You can think of that. But I think so many people are still disconnected even with the imagery. And so that's why I love this, because you need some sort of instability to start to fire those muscles. You need that movement and that biofeedback, and this will give you that. So,
And obviously, pelvic floor strength is important for women, especially women that have had children, to kind of rehab that area. Is pelvic floor strength just as important for men?
it is. It
Uh-huh.
is. And nobody talks about it, but it is. And they go, well, how do I know if my pelvic floor is strong or not? You can look at your stool. Like if you're having constipation issues or stool issues, that might be a cue, something pelvic floor related. So it is important for men. Absolutely, especially as we age. And, the pelvic floor supports, it's like the foundation of everything underneath our pelvis and into our spine and the rest of our body. So there's a lot of pressure on it being strong, and that's important, but it's also important that we relax it. And I think that could also be something with men that they don't think about, that there is this direct connection between strengthening the pelvic floor, but also being able to relax the pelvic floor. And they kind of are equally important.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned the relaxation part of it because I never thought of pelvic floor and relaxing. It always seemed like it was something I was working at. But I like that you are saying it has to be relaxation and breathing and all of this kind of in conjunction
Yes.
to strengthen it.
Exactly. They go hand in hand. And you'll know, I've worked with a lot of people who, they went to a pelvic floor physical therapist because they were having problems with digestion and constipation, or even back pain. And they were told your pelvic floor muscles are actually too tight. You need to learn to relax. And it's interesting because I would see a direct connection in their jawline. They were very tense in the shoulders and the jaw. So a really nice indicator too is if you feel relaxed through this zone and open, usually that actually correlates down there as well. It's all connected through our spine. So, and our fascia, our everything, but it's, so I think it's important to think about that too. We engage, we strengthen, but we also have moments of where we can relax it. It's just like the trampoline mat, it tenses, but then it's like this. It's
Yeah.
a nice image just by accident.
Yeah, right? I love that. I love that. So it's so awesome for pelvic floor strength. One of the reasons why I incorporated it was for the lymphatic drainage aspects of rebounding. I mentioned to you, I have sluggish lymph, and like a lot of people probably do, right? Something I kind of realized, in my early 40s of like, oh, maybe I need more assistance with detoxing and things like that. So, can you talk about maybe the lymphatic drainage aspects of rebounding?
Yeah, it's really popular reason people begin. So Our lymphatic system, it runs vertical in the body, and it doesn't have its own pump like the blood system. So we know that our heart pumps blood through our body. Our lymphatic system doesn't have that. So it requires external stimulus to get waste and toxins moving. And that could include any movement. It can include water. You might have heard lymphatic massages, anything like that. But because it moves vertical, one of the most efficient things to do is to move vertical with it to get it flowing. And there's very few things that we do in our day where we're going up and down besides maybe jumping rope or something, and that we can do for a pretty sustained, lengthy period of time. And so this is one of the few, if not any, things that you can vertically move in the same direction as your lymphatic system to get it flowing for long periods of time without adding any stress on the joints, because the bungees will absorb most of that stress. So it becomes this beautiful tool to move lymph vertically, and it will act as your pump, your lymphatic pump.
Now, is there a certain amount of time? Maybe we get into the details of like, is there a certain amount of time that you need to be rebounding? I kind of have committed to like, and you can tell me if this is right or wrong, but 3 to 4 songs.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm on it like 10 minutes or something like that.
Love that. I love that you use
Okay.
the songs. I feel like it's a really attainable, like, goal.
Yes.
There's no minimum or maximum. Absolutely not. In terms of cardio health, American Red Heart Association will say like 30 minutes a day of cardio. So you can look at that for cardio. But in terms of lymphatic system, anything will do. I just interviewed a client who had Lyme disease, and she was having a really, really tough time with it, and her blood work was coming back pretty rough. And she swore by 2 minutes of bouncing every hour for her workday, for the length of her workday. And she did that for a few months and went back, and her blood work was back to normal with her Lyme disease. So that was 2 minutes every hour. So she swore by that. So I tell people, start between 2 and 5 minutes. If you go for a little longer, that's great. But I love the idea of working with music, putting on your favorite songs, and I tell people, set a low goal. Like, just say, I'm going to go on for 5 minutes, because you might end up on longer. But anything will move the lymph, any length.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Because I did start kind of small, 5 minutes. I haven't been doing like as much cardiovascular workouts in my 40s. I feel like I kind of left that behind a little bit.
Me too.
So I was like, okay, I can do 5 minutes. And you work up a little bit of a sweat. I would actually put mine outside kind of in the morning and get that like morning sunlight, doing a little jumping. And really, I love it. It's like very high vibe for me. I love that.
That's what I do too. First thing in the morning, I'll have a glass of water and get on it. I love taking it outside, and you hear the birds, breeze. And it's high vibration, because you are getting the vibration from the bungees, and that vertical movement. But yeah, start small. It's simple. You can carry it outside, bring it back in when you're done, and get that energy start for your day.
Yeah. What are some other benefits of rebounding? Are there any that we're like, I mean, I know lymphatic drainage and the pelvic floor, like to me, those are like the top, but are there any other benefits?
So a big one is it improves our balance and our proprioception, our coordination, which it's not like one of those things that people put on their list of like fitness goals for the year. Like, I really want to improve my proprioception, until they get older or they get injured. So those are going to be the really important things that are good for our brain. When we improve when we work coordination, I always say it's kind of like doing a physical word puzzle. When we work our coordination, our proprioception, our brain stays really fresh. It stays active. It prevents falling as we get older. Again, which in your 40s, you're not thinking about. But if you work that now, when you turn 90, you'll be golden. And so keeps your brain sharp. We've had some athletes have, different concussions, and use this to just help their brain get sharp again and agile. So proprioception balance is huge. We do have
Can you define that? What is proprioception?
Yeah. So it's basically our body's ability to feel where it is in space, kind of put simply. So it's something we're not thinking about throughout the day. And I think we take it for granted until it's going. But it's your body's ability to know, that step is coming, without looking down and seeing it, and knowing where your foot is going to, so if we were to take our arm out to the side, or I were to take my hand on my head, I know it's there. Just I take that for granted every day. But as we get older, our sense of body awareness and spatial awareness starts to go. And that's why you'll hear about, people aging and being afraid of falling and that kind of thing. And as we stay sharp with proprioception, our brain stays really sharp. So I think that's also just for focus and eliminating brain fog, and just focus on everyday work is a really important thing to strengthen and to kind of challenge. So that's a big one. And a lot of people are scared if their balance isn't great to get on it. They're like, well, I'm going to fall. We have support bars and a T-bar, that you can use. I've got people in my 90s bouncing with those, which is so cool.
Wow. And you were saying, that it is really for everyone. People think, oh, I shouldn't do it because I'm getting older. Maybe I'm going to fall off or, be clumsy or something like that. But it really is. You want to talk about some of your clients that you have that are like in the older ages that are doing it?
I love them. Yes. I have a client. She's now in her 90s. She started bouncing when she was about 83. She came to me, her husband had passed away and she was like, I want to try something new. And I said, well, she came to me for Pilates and I said, well, how about bouncing on a trampoline? And she's like, are you crazy? And I gave her some support bars and now she's not past 90 and she's still rebounding in her house. And she said, this has kept me out of nursing homes and independent and living in a city and able to function as an independent woman in her 90s in an apartment building in Chicago. So she's just a great story. So I tell people it's never too late. Like starting at 87 and still seeing improvement is just amazing. It's truly spectacular. And I have another client. He's older. He was a veteran and turned potter. So you can imagine like he's making pots kind of like this all day.
Yeah.
And he's improved his posture from rebounding, and he started also in his late 80s and just sent me a pot the other day. So it's really cool. But yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Early or too late to start.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Constantly improve. But I do think, in general, from doing this podcast and talking to so many different people, it's like a lot of times it's the most simple changes that you can make. And I do think, yes, you are purchasing like a piece of equipment, but it's something that is like very simple to integrate into your routine.
Yes, it's simple. It doesn't require any electricity like a treadmill, like where you have to plug it in or anything. It's simple. You can take it outside. You can move it to different rooms of your house. It can be an indoor-outdoor thing. And it's like you said earlier, you put on a song or you're watching your TV show and you're just doing it in the background in your pajamas and just getting all of those lymph benefits, the proprioceptive benefits, the pelvic floor, the de-stress. We've got people using it in trauma healing. And so, just beautiful things that it's sort of this hidden secret.
Oh, I love that too. Like the trauma. I mean, we're all dealing with some kind of trauma, right? So just helping with that and the de-stress. I feel much lighter, like, just like a breath of fresh air,
Yes. Yeah. It brings you back to that childhood sense of play that we have with movement, that we sort of lose as we get older, where it's like, we have to work out. And it's like, I think we just have to keep moving. And this is the way to do it.
And do something that's fun. Do something that's fun. Do something that you enjoy, or else you're not going to stick with it, So, and I think everyone, we all remember jumping on a trampoline when we were kids, and it's a lot of fun.
It brings you back. It's like in every, childhood backyard memory. So I think that's important. My clients are always asking me, how do I stick to my workout goals and this and that? And I'm like, if you don't like doing that type of workout, you're not going to stick to it. It's a torture every day. So find something that brings you joy and that doesn't feel like a workout. And so for me, this has been that. Yeah,
absolutely. Can you talk just briefly about the differences between a Bellicon rebounder and maybe some random trampoline that you're finding on Amazon? Because I own a Bellicon. I love it. People have asked me, well, I could get this one on Amazon, but I know there are differences. And if you've jumped on a Bellicon, you've probably felt the difference. But if you could talk about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's funny. When I started rebounding, it was not on a Bellicon. I worked on a spring-based trampoline for years in New York. And then I kind of transitioned into this bungee world. And I owned a studio and I tried all different brands before I landed on Bellicon. And now I've had mine for over 10 years. So The big differences, I think, are definitely getting bungees over springs. That's a huge one. And the quality of the bungees really makes a difference. These bungees, they're customizable according to your weight. So that it's not one size fits all, and they hold up to 440 pounds. So they support more weight than other brands. And then getting that customized bungee so that you really get the best support for your body size and your goals is really important, or your injuries, if you've got injuries you're working through. So that's one thing. We have, our Bellicons are designed in Switzerland. We import them into the US from Germany. So they're really high quality in terms of design. You can get foldable legs, screw-on legs, different mats as well, and customize your colors, different accessories like the T-bar and the support bars. And so I think that those are really important. And like you said, it's until you get on it, the feeling of the bounce and the support and that sense of buoyancy, you feel it immediately, the difference compared to another bungee based, one that you'll get on Amazon, where you're not going to have that same effect. And it's really important for the lymphatic system to have that shock absorption in the right way and to have that buoyancy in the right way to get everything firing.
Yeah, I have the foldable legs on mine. I think that was like really important for storage. I don't have a ton of storage. So I do love that it's so easy to just, click those legs, up and down. So I love that. I see that yours in the background, you've got some fun colors. Rainbow on yours. Mine is neutral. I was like, I just want something neutral, I guess, to go with my decor.
I have a neutral one downstairs. That's just mine. This one's my kids, actually, just because they were stealing it. So I got them a rainbow, but I feel you. I've got the beige neutrals downstairs. And, I think too, I love just getting on and bouncing. Like, that's what I actually do most of the time. But we have an online workout platform too. So I think for people who are like, I don't know what to do, we have an osteoporosis program, a pelvic floor program for arthritis, and then also like higher intensity programs if you're an athlete. So, that having that support for online workouts too, I think really makes a big difference. So you kind of have a program to follow to guide you into the best bouncing journey, if you will.
Yeah. So if someone's going to access those online classes, how do they do that? Do you have to own a Bellicon to get on there? Okay.
You don't. You can do it with any rebounder. Basically, if you get a Bellicon, you get it for free for a trial period. And you'll have access to those, so you can try out different things. But yeah, you pay either a monthly fee or a yearly fee. And then you've just got access to over 1,000 workouts. And we always come out with new plans every few weeks. And we've got trainers from all over the world. Everybody's, really highly certified. We've got some physical therapists on there, multiple languages. So it's really fun. It's accessible. It's really personal.
That's cool. Do you find that like other countries rebound more than the United States?
Good question. Yes, I do. I was shocked because we're a Swiss-German company by origin. And the first time I went overseas for a company, work thing, I mean, it's like really popular. You'll see it in most gyms. It's kind of more common, than it is in the US, I think. But I think that's everything with us here. It takes us a little while to get back to the natural kind of, habits, if you will. But yeah, it's really popular. And I also find too overseas, more people who are aging are doing it, like active aging. But we're getting there here. It's like slowly the word's getting out.
Yeah, I've seen more of it. I don't know if my algorithm is kind of tuned to the rebounding, but I do see it more. And actually, I saw that 10 minutes of rebounding was equivalent to like 30 minutes of other kinds of cardio, like running. Is that true?
Yes. There are some good studies out there. The New York Times has written some articles. So there is some good knowledge. But yeah, I always compare it to sort of running on the beach versus running on concrete. When you're running on the beach, your body has to work harder because of the unstable surface. The muscles of your feet have to work harder. So it's sort of like that with this, because it's got the bungees and the malleable surface. All of the deeper muscles have to work harder in the best of ways. And then it's low impact on your joints, which is good. So you get the impact in the good places, but not the wear and tear that you would on your joints that you would get, say, on concrete running. So yeah, everything has to work a little harder.
Yeah, I get that. And when you come off of it, you almost feel like your legs feel like a little like heavy maybe for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to get used to
Yes.
walking
Yes.
again.
Takes me a
Yeah.
second. Yeah. To readjust. Yeah. I always tell people drink lots of water because it's like getting a massage, you move all the lymph through the body. And so you want to flush all the toxins out through either sweat or drinking water. And so yeah, drink lots of water. That'll help when you're done.
Yeah. Move it through.
Move it
I
through.
want to talk about two personal things in your journey. One is because I suffer from the same is the diastasis recti.
Yes.
Major situation there.
No joke.
Yeah. And has rebounding helped you with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that has just been an ongoing thing. And I did 2 rounds of pelvic floor physical therapy. I did the diastasis recti physical therapy. I mean, I've done every program. It has helped me a ton. I have to really focus on pulling my navel in to activate what's called our transverse abdominis, which is kind of like your inner corset, if you will, which helps support the deepest muscles of your core. So I think of drawing that in just a little bit, because if I don't really focus on it, the muscles are gone.
Yeah.
And when I bounce holding them in, I feel so good. I feel less lower back pain. I feel that they're strengthening just by contracting while you bounce. So it's helped me so much, so much with that connection and finding those muscles again.
Do you ever actually, like, I know that, the diastasis recti is like a separation in your abdominal muscles that a lot of women get after they've had a baby.
Yeah.
And I was able to bring mine closer together.
Yeah.
There's still a gap there, but it's not as prominent as it first was.
Yes.
Is that something that you can ever actually like heal yourself from? Or is it just always you're constantly working to get that?
That's a really good question. I asked my physical therapist that, and I've done quite a bit of digging. Technically, yes, there's a procedure and a surgery some women have done to actually close it. I think it's very, very difficult if you've had children, especially, to completely close the gap. I think that you'll get pretty close. But it's difficult to completely, but there are people who do it successfully. So not to discourage anybody. And there's also some people who opt in for this procedure that you can do to actually have it closed up. I had a 9-finger separation. It's almost 2 hands.
Wow.
They told me that. I was like, what? I was a Pilates person doing Pilates every day, worked out through my pregnancies. I mean, it was just the way I carried. And my son was over 9 pounds, and it was just,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, because I had 4-finger separation, which I thought was pretty large as well. And I had an over 8-pound baby. And so, and you and I both were dancers. And so I find that interesting because it's like, we didn't have a lazy core by any means,
No, it just happened. Yeah. And finally, my physical therapist was so kind. We worked so hard on it for a long time. Finally, in my last session, he looked at me and said, Fayth, there's going to be some level of separation for you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just keep moving, keep working on it. As long as you're pain-free. I started it because I was having just this bloating feeling and I was having lower back pain. And so I didn't care so much about how it looked. It was more, in a swimsuit, it was more that I was like, something's not right. I'm not getting the support for my digestive system that I need. So I feel supported now. But I can tell if I stop rebounding and kind of doing that transverse contraction where I draw in, I can start to pretty immediately see or feel like the separation comes back. So I have to really be diligent with it. But, we do our best.
We do our best. And I think, I had an emergency C-section and they cut through that transverse abdominis. Actually, I have 2 surgeries where they cut through the transverse. So I'm lucky if I can even feel it.
Exactly.
And, and like a lot of women that have had babies, so I do think the rebounding is so good for that too, because it like forces you, anything that forces you to feel that is good
to it. And it's funny you mentioned that, because that was what kind of panicked me was I couldn't feel it. Like I couldn't make that mind body connection to actually feel those muscles. And it was sort of alarming. Like, what happened? That's also part of that proprioceptive awareness. And this has definitely helped me wake them up and kick them on. So I go, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, there they are. Yes. Thank you. Welcome to the party, guys. Like, come on. I know I did, because I, like you, did the pelvic floor physical therapy which was a big help.
Yes.
And I think it's more, actually they were like, your pelvic floor is very strong, but it was my awareness of it. Is my awareness, is it really strong? Am I uncertain if it's strong? Like just kind of establishing that, I feel
Yes.
is like a big move,
It is that confidence in it again. And I think, I do think the physical therapy helps. And then, you can only do that for so long. And so we're working with a pelvic floor physical therapist now who's using the rebounder for some of her therapy. So I'll be interviewing her soon and I'll have to share it with you. It'll be interesting to see what she says about it specifically with her clients' journeys. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I feel like there's a lot to say about the pelvic floor. I'll have to do the same and have somebody on to talk about it.
Oh yeah, there's so much. There's so much. It's a really important area. Yeah. Emotional.
The other thing that we connect on too is Hashimoto's and thyroid issues. So you had said that you had done some changing of your diet and everything. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I was having like just bloating and brain fog and digestive issues and just fatigue. I went to my regular doctor and they're like, well, you're not sleeping. I was like, no, yes, I know I'm not sleeping, but it's something else. And so I went to an integrative doctor and they did some blood work and they said, oh, you have Hashimoto's. And I'm like, and I had some thyroid things, obviously, that come with it. So they put me on some different supplements, vitamin D, because that was low, B12. And they told me to go gluten-free. And I was like, I cannot stand gluten-free people. I'm fine. I am not doing it. I'm Italian. I eat there was no way. But I really was like, you know what? I came here with an open mind. I'm going to do it. So they said, they also did a food sensitivity test. And they said, you've got to avoid certain foods. They're causing you some inflammation. So I went completely gluten-free. I laid off all the foods. I did it for months. And all I did was rebound. And I stayed on this diet. And I couldn't believe I went back and my blood work was back to normal. And even the doctor, her jaw dropped. And she said, I've never seen anybody shift this in a 9-month period. And I was shocked. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. She said, how do you feel? I said, I feel really good. I have my energy back. And I said, I'm not sleeping still because my baby was young at the time. And I just still wasn't getting sleep, but it really helped. So now I'm a full believer in this gluten issue that we have in America, but I have done gluten-free. I'm really careful with, like processed foods and trying to keep anything that causes that inflammation out. And then the rebounding has helped just move through my digestive system, along with proper hydration. So I was really surprised. Shocked.
Yeah. I have an interesting question about, do you ever worry, as we are aging, this is an aesthetic question with the bouncing. I always think like, is it pulling like the face down when you're bouncing?
No, it's the opposite. When you're rebounding, you're working against a little bit more G force or gravitational force. So even though you'll have that I call it elasticity, that's what you're feeling, it will keep your body elastic in the right way. And each cell, as we rebound expands and contracts. So in terms of cellular health and skin health, it's actually going to be really good for you because you're strengthening each cell, including the cells of the skin. So you're working against gravity in the right way. So I have no problems with, you'll see the opposite effect. Also,
you look very lifted and your skin looks great too. And so you also said that you carry on like a very simple skin routine.
Yes. I was so into, I loved skincare for a long time and always for years have gone pretty clean with my skincare, and I spent a lot of money on skincare.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it gets
Don't we all?
Yeah, a lot. I couldn't quite clear my skin out in the best of way. And I always had sort of oily skin. I'm Italian and had all sorts of skin issues. But I finally went to the right dermatologist and she said, you've really got to look at your diet first. And so that's what I did, adding fruits and veggies that hydrate and detox, adding more water and some electrolytes. And so that was the first thing I noticed. And yeah, I just use like like a cheapo CVS or whatever store-bought face wash once a day, and some moisturizer, and then Rebound and sweat a lot, because the sweating also detoxifies your skin. So I've simplified everything, and it's been nice on my wallet and my
Yeah.
body, and sort of liberating when I travel. I'm like, oh, I don't need all this crap. It's just one little thing.
Yes. And I love that too. Like, keep it simple. That's always whenever I get too many steps in a routine, it's like, okay, let's just bring it back to like simplicity. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like too, that was like contributing to all the autoimmune stuff, just like the amount of decisions I had to make in a day and the stress level. I'm like, what can I do to just pull things down? I've got 3 kids. It's like, it's a lot going on. Like, how can I simplify things? And so that was one of them, was less in my routine
Yes.
to think about. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. To wrap up, one last question, because this is a cinnamon effect and I use cinnamon as kind of like what I think makes life better, sweeter, healthier, more fulfilling. I want to know, what are you adding to your life like cinnamon that makes it better for you?
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Like cinnamon. You're making me want to add it, like go downstairs and have some cinnamon. That makes me so happy. It's like,
I love that for
that
lunch.
little exclamation point, that little something special. That's a good question. For me, I think that if I can get outside every day by myself without any children for very short periods of time, I mean like 5 minutes, that's my cinnamon effect, if you will, for the day. It's that simple thing. I mean, I could say the rebounder, because that's the truth too. I get, if I can get on it 2 minutes a day. But for me, it's movement outside for like 2 to 5 minutes a day. And that brings me joy. So whether it's the rebounder or a walk, I've got to get some sort of nature just in, and then I'm happy.
Yes.
So
I love that. I love that. That sounds so divine. Like, I want to haul my rebounder out there right now and bounce.
It's something outdoors, 2 to 5 minutes alone, and it's really important. I try to do it alone, kind of step out away from my family members, away from my animals, and just be. So
Yeah. I love that. Fayth Caruso, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like this conversation has so many great points, and especially for women, and especially for women who have had babies. And so thank you for bringing your knowledge to us today.
Thank you. This was really fun. I love talking with you. I feel like we have so much in common. It's just an easy, organic conversation. So thank you, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. You guys, thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, please rate, review, share it with somebody you love, and we'll see you next time on The Cinnamon Effect.